In this lesson, you'll learn how to figure out what a linear equation is given the slope and the y-intercept, or given just a graph, or just given the slope and a point. So in numbers 1 and 3, you need two pieces of information, but in number 2, just the graph, all you need to do is see the graph, and then you can do some calculating based on your observations of that graph. And when we are referring to linear equations, what we're talking about are equations that say y equals some number times x plus b, or it could be mx minus b actually, and m is always the slope and b names the y-intercept. Okay, suppose you know that the slope of a certain equation is -4, and the y-intercept, which we use the letter b to represent, is 5. So, and you also remember that slope-intercept form of an equation is y equals mx plus b. All you have to do is put -4 in where you see m, and put 5 in where you see b. That's all there is to it. So that's goal number 1, write an equation given a slope and the y-intercept. Really easy stuff on that one. Now let's learn how you can write an equation if you're just looking at the graph of the equation but you don't actually see what it is. So I'm going to enlarge this graph so we can kind of hone in on, to be able to plainly see some of the points. And you're really looking for a place where the graph crosses a vertical line and a horizontal line, right at that kind of point right there. And here's one such place right here. And you have to name the coordinates, which would be over 0, up 6. And here's another place, which is over 4, up 10. Yeah, actually, this was a very convenient one because you want to see what the y-intercept is, and the y-intercept is 6. So we know this equation is going to be y equals something times x plus 6. We can see that the y-intercept is 6. So we have to figure out the slope. Well, you remember how to do that. Hopefully you remember. I'm going to write the coordinates this way. 4, 10, 0, 6. You can see that it's a positive slope because it goes uphill. And I have to find the difference between 10 and 6, which is 4. And the difference between 4 and 0, which is 4. I didn't really write that out. Maybe I should have. 10 minus 6 over 4 minus 0 equals 4 over 4, which equals 1. So m is 1. And we don't even have to put that in there. It's just y equals 1x, or just x, plus 6. And that's the rule for this graph right here. So that's how you figure out what an equation would look like if you just had the graph. You have to see what the y-intercept is, and then you have to get another point on the graph and figure out what the slope is. Okay, one that involves more calculation is to write an equation given the slope of the line and a point on the line. First part's pretty easy. If you're given the value for the slope, let's just say it's 3, you know that part of the equation is going to say that y equals 3x. But you have to figure out then what's the number that you're adding or maybe subtracting that is representing the y-intercept. And you really can't do that with just this information that we see on the screen so far. You have to be given perhaps a point. So let's make one up and say if x is 3, y is 4. Remember that is the value for x. And this is the value for y. That's the order, and the order is really important here because we're going to substitute wherever we see x, we're going to put in 3, and when we see y, we're going to put in a 4. So 4 equals 3 times 3 plus b. And if you think ahead, you can probably figure out what we're going to do right now. And that is, do the math here. It'd be 4 equals 9 plus b. We want to get b all by itself because we want to figure out what number is equal to b, and then we can put it in right up here. So we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. And we'll make this plus -9, which gives us -5. And that's the value for b. So we come back up here to say y equals 3x. Now I can either make it plus -5 or minus, +5. And I think I'm going to just put minus +5. So this is the equation that would represent something that has a slope of 3. It's obvious right there. It's 3x. And given the point, we can substitute values in for x and y and figure out what the numerical value for b is, and then come back up to slope-intercept form up here and put in -5 for b, or plus -5, or just make it -5. Same thing.